Good day, fine students, and welcome back to the internet, where everything you hear and see is completely and totally true. Thank you for your original research projects. I have graded all of those. You can find my notes in the grade book. By far and large, I thought those were quite well done. Now it's time for us to turn our attention to the discussion board, and I am so sorry that we are a little bit late getting started on that. We need to find someone to blame. This is all your fault. Okay, now that we've dispensed with that, let me give you your instructions for the discussion board. The single most important thing that you are going to do on the discussion board is to discuss. This is not a post board. This is where you are going to go and interact with your peers. If you just go out to the discussion board one time and do not have an active dialogue with your peers, you are not going to get full credit, even if you do have the minimum number of posts, because this is distinctly a discussion that is going to develop you intellectually, because we're going to be talking about the process of peer review, and that's how information makes its way into the scientific body of knowledge. Every field has its own professional organization, and oftentimes those professional organizations have journals, and professionals in that respective area, that respective field, they study interesting questions. They write up manuscripts. Those manuscripts get submitted to that professional organization, and then professionals or peers review the quality of that write-up, review the quality of that manuscript. And if it's really good, then oftentimes it will get published in that organization's professional journal. If it's bad, they say, thank you, try again. And they send the manuscript back to the author with notes so that that person can improve upon their research. That is the process by which we make sure that valid information makes its way into journals. If you go out to the internet and just type in a random search, you don't know the quality of the source. But when we're dealing with professional journals, we do know that professionals in a given field have at least reviewed it. Now, that's not to say that every article is completely and totally correct and has completely and totally valid information. But what it is saying is that the best of the best in a given field have reviewed that information and that they have deemed it worthy to be published. So it does help. It helps ensure that the information that we are consuming from professional organizations is valid. So we are going to be replicating that peer review process. We are going to first and foremost read Preston Woodrum's manuscript, in which he posed the question, what lures will work when you are fishing for largemouth bass right before a snowstorm? I made that up. Right before a storm. Let's hope not a snowstorm this time of the year. But right before, he has his methodology, the data that he collected, his analysis, his conclusions. And you all are now going to perform a critical analysis. Don't be rude, but be critical of how he put his... the joys of parenthood. It is now your responsibility to go out to the discussion board to critically analyze the question, the methodology, the data collection, data analysis, and the conclusion. Don't be rude. I want you to identify opportunities for improvement and identify future questions that can be asked based upon the research findings. And this is very commonplace in research. There's a question asked, there's an experiment, there's a conclusion made. This one and this one should be very closely tied together. Question, an answer to the question alone, and then after the conclusion, there's oftentimes discussion in which the author identifies future questions or indicates what cause and effect he or she thinks may exist, even though cause and effect might not necessarily have been illustrated through the experimental design. We have to be really cautious about assuming that that we know the answer to something when there's just simply a correlation illustrated in the study. So be looking for issues with cause and effect, and when there may actually just be correlation. Good luck. If you have any questions, you can find me on the discussion board.